Okay, wow, 76 people already popping in. Hi, Ovetta. I didn't know you were so popular.
Me neither.
We should have had you on the very first one. It's great to see you again.
Yeah, it's so great to see you and so happy for what you and Maggie are doing for the research community, but also for the industry. So you guys are just killing it out there.
I appreciate it. There's some very kind words and high praise from somebody where high praise means a lot, I'll just say. I'm very excited to talk to you about this role. It seems like a lot of other people are excited to learn more about this role. So, folks, I'm going to say it right now. Just as the questions come in, just drop them right in the chat because I want to hear them. To start, Ovetta, I'd love to know about this particular role. What was the impetus for the role? What problem are we trying to solve by hiring this person that you think people should really know about?
Yeah, I'm sure people have heard of this thing called generative AI. It's a little thing that kind of popped up over the last couple of years. And let me just tell you.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, just a tiny bit, right? Just a tiny bit.
Just a little bit.
Just to describe the type of team that I lead, my name is Ovetta Sampson. I'm the director of user experience for what has rebranded and just this week. So hot news this week at Google, the new AI and compute enablement team. So this is ACE. We are ACE. If you join us, you will be an ACER. And this team is responsible for all of the okay, I'm going to say this in really unsexy, non-branding terms. All of the ML and AI plumbing that Google has. So all of the railroad lines and plumbing and electrical structures, ML infrastructure, AI infrastructure, compute infrastructure that we use for ML to power it, to make sure that it gets to devices. The pipelines, the data pipelines that we use to transport clean and engineered data to models, the infrastructure that we use to create models, the tools, all of that. Our UX team helps to design that with our engineering and partners. So we are the I like to call the engine of the car. We enable ML and AI across Google. It's a pretty exciting team to be on and to be with. Mm-hmm. And the thing that inspired this position here is the growth of our team. We're looking for someone who can take our amazing UX research team to the next level in product design and infrastructure, ML infrastructure design. So think about an area that is a utility almost, and looking for that light bulb innovation person, right? To take something that is taken for granted and reshape it into an innovative way.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I've heard that in a gold rush, it's actually really good to be one of the folks building and selling pickaxes and shovels rather than looking for gold.
Absolutely.
So it sounds a lot like what you're talking about right here.
I love the metaphor. We for that trek out west for the railroads, we're putting down the railroad tracks. That's us.
I love that. Claudel, a great question here. I think it speaks to the positioning of this role. How close will this person be to the applied scientists and essentially the folks and the work around building models? Is that part of the focus, or is it adjacent to it?
Yeah, it's absolutely. I like to say we have the smartest user group in the world because our users are Google developers and researchers who build not only foundational models, so models like Gemini, models like Bard, but also who adapt those models and fine tune those models for use into highly scalable products like YouTube, Waymo in self-driving cars, also shopping, ads, search. We we are the team that powers those teams and enables those teams to do the amazing products that they provide to the world. So our user group is directly, we have a distinguished amount of users. We have different user segments, and that user segment runs from ML academic researchers, like those who work at Google DeepMind, who did AlphaFold on some of our frameworks and tooling, all the way to a developer engineer within Google who is adapting a Gemini for ads or shopping or another product area.
I love that. There's Shweta, you asked a question that I love that's very near and dear to many of the stories that I've heard. She's got a background in architecture, focused on psychology, cognitive science, a lot of stuff in there. I think she really wants to have a sense of how can that be essentially an asset, and how can that help in positioning herself potentially for a role like this, or for shifting into UX work in general.
Yeah, my team, I think I'm going to get t-shirts made. My team is very, has heard this over and over again when I talk about the value of research. And one of our goals in research is to make people believe in the things that don't exist. So when we do our research, we come back with insights, and we have recommendations and suggestions on how the world should be, right? And one of those steps into helping people to believe about how the world should be is to helping them visualize it. And it's a rare talent and even expectation of UX researchers to use visualization as part of their research practice. And so as a person who has a background in architecture, but also psychology, I would love for you to take a lot of those insights and make them tangible for people who live in the world of visual outcomes. Designers and PMs and engineers. And so that's a practical thing that I expect from my researchers. How can they turn what is sometimes a verbal or text focused insight into a vision of what the world should be?
I love that. Praveen, another great question for us. This one's very practical. When somebody in this particular role is coming onto your team, how do we think about, the 30, 60, 90-day plan? What does success look like at those milestones from your point of view?
Yeah, I think that's an excellent question. And I think one of the things for where my team sits, we sit in a highly technical area. So a lot of people are intimidated by the technical acumen that our researchers actually delve in. And I'm just going to brag on my team a little bit. I think I have 8.
I think this is the right forum for it, right? Let's get people excited about it.
Yeah, I have 6 or 7 PhDs on my team. They work for places like NASA and NSA, and they're very talented and smart. One was a data scientist, so they come from different walks and different backgrounds. But what they all have in common is that they're solid researchers. We don't have to talk about the basics of research, and they're curious to elevate they're kind of self-motivated to elevate their knowledge. And so in the first 30 days, it'll just be learning all you can and all you filling in gaps about machine learning and AI.
I'd imagine you probably have access to some developments that maybe not everybody else does. So there's probably a lot to catch up on.
We definitely have a way to do that. You will build your first ML model in the first 90 minutes. I guarantee that.
Okay.
Going through that process, we developed that self assessment ML building practice like tool because I wanted researchers to understand what it takes to build a model, so that they can understand what it means to their user group when they say this takes too long
Yeah.
or this is too complicated or whatever. And so we built and Michelle, shout out to Michelle Carney, who works on my team. She helped to build this self-assessment, build your own model with our tooling, so that, and we've shared it with directors and executives and other people so that they can understand what it takes to build a model. So you'll be immersed in that. We have a really great Nicole, shout out to Nicole, who's on my ops team. Really great onboarding. Amber, our head of design, helped to write that. So you'll be immersed in the first 30 days and just learning all of the products within our portfolio. And my team is split up by what we call investment area. So this particular position is will work in what we call the capacity and efficiency era, and that is helping us bring models to the world in the most efficient and cost-saving manner. And so you'll learn a lot about ML architecture and how models are put into production. You'll learn a lot about efficiency and compute power. So you will not be left alone to navigate the highly technical space. But what we won't spend a lot of time on is your basics as a researcher. You'll have to come in knowing that you're a badass researcher, and now you're just trying to elevate your game.
Yeah, I love that. I think this super practical question, and I think this is top of mind. I know especially today, there's a lot of, applications getting sent in, and I think folks are always looking for clarity on how, they think they're a great fit for the role. They have the requirements that are in that JD. How do I make sure that my resume, my CV gets a real look?
Yeah, to be quite honest, this is a mystery to me. I wish I knew more about this process because, as a hiring manager, let me just tell you how it is for us on our side.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, just to let you guys know a little bit of insight information here. So don't yell at the hiring managers if they haven't responded. So first of all, I cannot by ethical and Google policy, talk to external candidates unless it's an informal interview. So I get a lot of LinkedIn messages when I post that I'm opening up a job, and I try to answer back, but I can't answer them all. But if I don't answer you, it's not because I'm ignoring you, but ethically, I can't really talk to you. It would be biased, right? I would kind of because I can't talk to everybody. It means I can only talk to you when you have a formal interview with me. So that means you have gone through the application process. I've looked at your resume and I've asked the technical recruiter to set up some time. Secondly, so that answers one question, why the hiring manager doesn't talk to me. The second, how your application gets through the process, I actually don't know. I'm not quite sure. There's varied ways that resumes are screened, and I don't know if you've ever had a HR recruiter and UXR recruiter on the show, Alec, but I would recommend
probably should
a next step. And I can recommend you a couple who could kind of tell you how, in a general way, they're not going to give away trade secrets, but in a general way, how recruiting happens and how applications are happening. But what I understand is it goes through a vetting process that's probably digital, to be quite honest. A lot of firms are using AI. And I know that Google uses some form of screening that is not just human. And then once it gets through that, I don't actually know what they're looking for, but I assume they're looking for keywords that match the job description. So when I write the job description, the ones that say there's two sections on the job description. One of them says job responsibilities. The other one says minimum qualifications and preferred qualifications. The minimum qualifications must-haves If you don't have the minimum qualifications, your resume is kicked. I know that for sure because you have to write the minimum qualification in a way.
And I guess you stick to them too. You have to.
Yeah, we have to stick to it. So if I want somebody with 3 years experience, I can't write 5.
Right.
So if I want somebody with 3 to 5 years experience, then I have to write it that way. So, so that's another reason why your resume may get kicked because it automatically doesn't align to the minimum qualifications.
So if I can summarize on this real quick, it sounds like, these job descriptions are written very carefully and with a process behind that job description for how each of those lines are going to essentially be enacted upon. So essentially for folks that are applying, take a really good hard look at that, look at the keywords that are being used in terms of what you do and impact, and then take a very hard look at the qualification side.
Yeah, and location. Location is another thing. A lot of companies they have growth areas where they target. Yep. So if I put a location on the application, know that I'm really constrained. It's not that I want that. It's that the company has said these are our growth areas for this job.
That makes sense. Jessica, I love this question. We're gonna dig into this a little bit. Maybe Ovetta in a couple of minutes, right? Because I know you. I know this is very much in line with your personality, and I feel like the level of excitement you have for researchers and the practice. And so I love this. When you think about greatness in this role, what are some of those? Again, like Jessica was saying, what are some of those traits, or what would exemplify something that gets you excited?
Yeah, the bar, right? The badass researcher. I think the bar for me is transformative. When I'm looking at resumes, again, why do we do research? If we do research so that the world remains the way that it is, then it's not useful, correct? So I'm looking for paradigm shifting, transformative change, any indication that you did research and somebody changed their mind. And not only did they change their mind, they believed so much in what you showed them that they created something that didn't exist. Like, what is the assignment of all UX? Why do we do UX, right? Our assignment isn't because we like research and design. Our assignment is to get human-centered design into products, because it makes people's lives easier, right? Yeah. So if that's the assignment, right, then we have to take what people think the world should be and make it to what it actually should be, with the reflection of users who are going to use that product or have that experience. And so a badass researcher is capable of not only convincing her team, her stakeholders, maybe even her boss like me, that the world should be different. And you have the skills, the storytelling skills to do it, right?
Mm-hmm. It's not all hard skills, right?
Right. And it's not methodologies, right? I could do contextual diaries to the cows going home, but that doesn't mean somebody's going to create a product from it, right? Yeah. And so again, your assignment is to convince the world to make something that doesn't exist in its form, right? And that means you have to have some hardcore storytelling chops to help people visualize what that world should be, right?
Yeah.
And you have to be confident, right, in the vision of the world that you're showing people. And you don't have to be afraid of being wrong either. Mm-hmm. Because again, it's research, right?
I love this, and I just want to pause on this moment for a second with you, Ovetta, because I talk to a lot of researchers, and sometimes a lot of people can feel like they're in a box. It's like, do the thing that you were told to do, deliver the report, do it, do the next one, right? But we can spread our wings, and we can do much more. We can inspire others, and we can take that next step, and we can try and paint a vision and something that's exciting, because we're so close to the customer a lot of the time, and we can see something that's so real. And if you develop those storytelling skills and, are able to paint a picture that people can rally behind, like you can be the catalyst for that change.
Absolutely. I believe that researchers have a superpower that because it's so super, maybe they hide it or something, that they just don't use it. They don't pull it out. Right.
Yeah.
And I feel like our industries suffer because of it.
Yeah.
Because researchers don't take risk, because they fall in line with the default of nobody's going to listen to me, or I don't have enough power or agency. You are the most powerful person in your company because you're the only one that users talk to. You know how much presidents and VP would kill to have that kind of access, right? So turn that frown upside down, young researcher, and realize the power you have.
Yeah. I think that's really well said. I love that. I have two very practical questions that I'd love to kind of catch them in tandem. So this first one here is an individual who, I'll just show this real quick. They had an interview with Google that went well. It sounds like another candidate was selected. Is there a way to essentially piggyback off that positive experience and application? And then someone else here has a question about referrals. Is it better to apply right away and then go and see if you know somebody who can put in a strong word for them, or should they wait until perhaps they've got somebody saying, yes, I'll refer you first? How do you feel?
So let me tell you how referrals work. If you're an internal person and you're referring an external person, you have to refer that person first, right?
Okay.
So if a person comes to me and says, I have applied, then I can't refer them.
Ah, interesting.
It's not a retroactive thing, at least at Google. And in most places that I worked at. So what you need to do is do it in tandem, right? You need to talk to the person if you know them and say, hey, I'm thinking about applying for this job. What do you think? And then have that person look at the job and make sure that you fit it. Because the thing about referrals, the thing about Google is not only will they, like, referrals are great. They really like them, but they don't, it's not the end all to be all to get a job here. They will actually talk, like recruiters will actually talk to people who didn't refer you, but who they know you've worked with and who also work at Google. So there's a lot of vetting that goes on to get into this company. And I get it. It's a hard company to get into. A lot of people apply multiple times. So to the referral process, you really want to do that in tandem with the person who's referring you. So that person says, hey, they send you the job link. That meant they've already filled out the form they need to fill out for Google to say, I'm referring this person.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Want to share a comment real quick. Shout out to you, Eve. That's very nice. Thanks for the kind words. We love you. Another question here from Shweta, which I think is great. And I don't think it's really about your role in particular, but I think let's pop it on here real quick. It just is kind of like about the environment. You feel like you meet all the qualifications or all the requirements. You're not getting the roles that you think that you should be getting. And obviously that's extremely frustrating. And I have reflections on this and what we can and should do about this, but I wonder if you have any opinions or thoughts on like how to handle that just on a personal level and how to look about finding that success and that next step that you're looking for.
Yeah. So I'm a big proponent of not waiting on opportunity.
Hell yeah.
more like just doing so many things that opportunity is like, whoa, I gotta catch up with this girl because she's gonna pass me right up, right? So not that applying for jobs is waiting on opportunity. I think that's a definite, go-to task that you need to do is to apply for jobs. But I also think, like, as a manager, I am always recruiting. So like I was speaking at an event in New York And I met this woman who worked at Salesforce, and she worked on AI, and so we just started talking. She's going to work for me in 2 years. I can tell you that. Like, she doesn't know that, but
yeah.
right. But if I am always recruiting as a manager, a director, then you should always be selling yourself.
Yeah.
So if you are going to industry events, you're networking, you're going to the meetup, you're doing all of this.
You're writing, you're making YouTube videos explaining research concepts, doing mentorship sessions.
Like my girl Paz, shout out to her. She is making a whole new niche. She works at Google, and she's been writing blogs and making videos about AI and design. And she is just killing it, right?
Yeah.
Speaking around the world. Like, she is not going to have to apply for her next job, right? It's going to come to her. So my advice is, everybody doesn't like to be in the spotlight, and I get that, but find ways for your brand to get out there outside of your job title.
Yeah. I love that.
And then find your opportunities where they lie. So you were full on UX designer or UX researcher, and then you got laid off. There are opportunities for people to be educated on what UX research really is, right? And use your experience that way. Don't sit and just wait. Like when I was at Microsoft, I wrote my own job description, right? It didn't exist. And then a recruiter called me and said, "Hey, look at this." And I was like, "Whoa, these are quite the same," right? So I'm a big proponent of creating your own opportunity. So if there's something you can do outside of just applying for jobs, and I get it, if you have a family, if you have to pay rent, I totally understand all that. But as a person who freelanced all her life, opportunity just doesn't come to you. You have to make those connections. And so always be selling yourself in some way.
I mean, I'm very privileged in being able to speak with a lot of folks who've been senior in the research space. And I don't want to say like all of them, because probably not all of them, but I think most of them had some bizarro way of getting into the field, creating an opportunity for themselves. For some of them, it was making content. For some of them, it was just taking a customer support role. For some of them, it was, you name it. And now they're like VPs of like massive tech companies. Right. And that's really cool. I want to be cautious of time here. Do you have a few more minutes to answer some questions, Ovetta, or do you got to bounce?
I do. I don't have a hard stop. So
amazing. So first, Sarah wanted to know, what was the name or channel of your colleague that was doing the design and AI videos? I'll drop it in the chat. Do you know?
Oh, Paz. Sorry. Let me go get Paz's government name. not the name that I call her.
I got it. Yeah, because I think there's some people excited to check it out.
Her name is Paz, P-A-Z, Perez, P-R-E-Z. If you don't know her, look her up. She's amazing. She's killing.
We're gonna look that up.
She's an example of a person who, like, prior to ChatGPT or Gemini or generative AI, was probably just kind of like a designer doing her thing. And once prompt engineering came about, she decided to write some presentations. She did it within Google. People liked it, and then she published them. And now she's speaking in Spain. I mean, she's killing it. And she's just sharing what she learned, right? And I, she contacted me. And we met in person at Config, and I was really impressed by her ability to make opportunity happen.
Yeah, I love that. I think there's been a few questions about quantitative skills, qualitative skills, data analysis, coding. How do you think about both for this role and maybe in general? Because honestly, I think if I spent a few hours, I could brush up on my quant skills to be able to do to be competent enough. But nowadays, if I go to like Claude, for example, and be like, can you please analyze this in the following way? Make sure to put the error bars in and all that nonsense and the chi-squared test. How do you think about this, especially in the age of AI, where like these more capabilities are there? Is this something you expect from even your qual-oriented researchers?
Yeah, it's so funny because, I was saying this about 4 or 5 years ago. I said, if you're a qualitative researcher and you don't know how to read data, you're not data literate, you're missing half of your job, to be quite honest, because our behavior is ensconced in data, and it's a reflection of who we are. How many telephone calls we make, how much money we spend a month. If you're doing any kind of product design and you're not looking at the data trail that a user is leaving, then you're missing half of the picture there, right? And so the days of just doing ethnography or just interviewing user groups and coming to a fuller understanding of the complex systems which with those users are living in are gone, right? You have to have multiple views of that complex system. And a lot of that includes data, right? A lot of that includes something beyond text and words. So I highly recommend that. And to me, it's quant. If I want a specialist, I'll go to a data scientist for quant, right? But when it comes to user research, I need somebody who can understand both sides of the coin. Not so deeply that they're a data scientist, but they understand how data is reflected in a personhood and how people act and behave. And then like, it's kind of like, for me, my superpower was understanding data. So that's how I got into ML and AI. Your superpower may be understanding art and visual. So that's why you go to Midjourney or Adobe and understand how generative AI could be better or enhance it, evaluate it. User researchers are doing that. So there's all kinds of opportunity in this age. But I definitely think we have to widen our view of what user research really means and what it means to practice it.
I think that's well said. As the capabilities and the ease of doing these things change, there's probably going to be expectations that this definitely is a key part of your skill set more and more. Someone was asking here about the idea and concept of, is it an IC role? Is it a manager role? Are there opportunities for like developing skills and supporting other people? And from some of the things that it sounds like, I believe if I recall correctly, this is an IC role. Is it a manager role?
Yes, it's a manager role.
Right. How do we think about talent development, growing people's skills? Like as a manager, how are you supporting other people in their growth?
So let's talk about this role specifically. What am I looking for? It's a manager role at a senior level. And this isn't the player coach role. This is we're going to the
full-on coach.
Yeah, we're going to the championship. I got Michael Jordan on this is the Phil Jackson role.
Yeah. Okay, there we go.
Right? Like that, you got a team of champions.
Can you tell Ovetta's from Chicago here?
Hey, we will always have 6 championships, right?
There you go.
You have a team of champions, right? And you got utility players like Steve Kerr, who you don't want to leave on the sidelines either. And you got Michael Jordan, and you got Scottie Pippen.
Dennis Rodman, Scottie Pippen. You got the greats.
Together. Yeah, you got to make them work together. You got to be zen about it, right? You got to take the yoga retreats like Phil Jackson did. This is the Phil Jackson role. So you're not doing the research. Like if you think that you're going to be doing the research, that's not what I expect. There's a difference between management and leading. And you will be leading, which means you will be extracting the best out of the research team. And they're doing some amazing work. So let's just, this is superstar championship team, right? So you got to come on here like Phil and be like, I have the best players in the world. How can I get the best out of them? And they're satisfied and happy and have good wellness and life balance and all that good stuff. So I think a lot of people, especially me, like when I started to manage, I always thought about the player coach thing. And I always thought that got in the way of leadership, of leading teams. And I had to learn the hard way. My job is not to do the research. My job is to create the conditions so that you can do the best research there is in your career.
Yeah, I love that. I want, maybe we'll get a couple more questions, then I'll let you go. Otherwise, I mean, I'm sure we could talk all day, but I have a feeling that you have some superstars to coach.
Yes.
So, so Shira asks here, she's got a great little question. She's had extensive research across multiple disciplines, but not UX specifically. Does that impact the opportunity for these roles?
That would impact the opportunity for the role that I have open because it's strictly, we're talking about product design. So it's like okay, let me just say the difference between other research and product design research and what I'm called design research. Other research does research and gives amazing insights, which we all need. And they could be at universal level, which is what I call high level, or they can be at tactical level, which designers can take and turn into design principles. But product design research turns the corner towards design. And again, it's geared towards helping people imagine something that doesn't exist, right? So the research not only has to be insightful, it has to be tactical and pragmatic and able to be turned into a product, right? So it has to turn the corner towards design. And this is something that I'm obsessed with. And I feel like a lot of researchers don't get it, right? They're like, well, I talked to the people, or I did the contextual diary and I did my synthesis and we came out with these insights and we feel like this is the air. Like Amy, who's a designer at IDEO, taught this class about what is synthesis. It was called What the Hell is Synthesis? And she talked about at the end of your research, if everybody says, yeah, great, that might not be entirely useful, right? It's good research, but that doesn't mean it's useful. Good design research has design energy. Designers have to see at the end of it, they have to see and be ready to design something. And so there's a difference between doing research, gathering all the evidence, doing the synthesis and all that good stuff, and reflecting that out and reflecting design energy.
Yeah.
And we can
I love
do a
that.
whole class on that. So, but that's a good question. Like, how do you want to prepare for that? And the one thing, if you've been doing academic research and all that kind of stuff, or research that inflect those insights, you want to turn that into design energy. So that means, what do you design after that research is done?
Yeah, I love that. So many good questions. I feel like we need to have another discussion just about design energy and this whole vibe here. I feel like you stumbled upon a little gem here that I want to spend an hour on just that.
I spent semesters on that. So don't you worry.
Okay, good.
And I could bring some really great researchers on. Marta, shout out. She's in Chicago. I bring a lot of great researchers on to talk about that.
I love that. Okay, we'll set that up. Thank you so much for the time. Thank you for answering so many questions. There were tons of questions. I wish we could have gotten to all of them. Folks, we are going to be please apply. That's definitely on the to-do list for all y'all. We're going to be doing more of these. I have actually some new roles that haven't been announced yet and that we have AMAs locked in for next week. So stay tuned for that. And thank you so much, Ovetta. And we'll catch you at the next one. And I can't wait till you hire again so I can have you back.
Yes. I will be hiring, hopefully. Fingers crossed soon. Alec, thanks so much for the time. I really do appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. Okay, folks, have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks, Ovetta. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.